didn't realize my life was breaking. That's the thing people don't tell you. Sometimes nothing explodes. Nothing ends dramatically. No doors slam. Things just thin out. Conversations become shorter. Silences become longer. You stop asking questions because you already know the answers, or you're afraid of them. That's where I was. I was 39 years old and technically doing fine. Good job. Decent apartment. No debt. No addictions anyone could point to. From the outside, I was stable. From the inside, I felt like a hallway with too many closed doors. I worked in consulting. The kind of job where people respect you more for how tired you look than for how happy you are. Early mornings, late flights, hotel rooms that all smelled the same, small talk with people who knew your resume better than your face. I was good at it. That scared me. My mornings followed a routine so tight it left no room for thought. Wake up, coffee, shower, phone, emails, news, silence. I avoided mirrors longer than necessary, not because I hated what I saw, but because I didn't recognize him anymore. My father used to say, if your life feels empty, you've probably been filling it with the wrong things. At the time, I thought that was advice for people who failed. Turns out, it was meant for people who succeeded too early. I hadn't spoken to my father in almost 4 years. Not because of a fight, that would have been easier. We just stopped calling. That kind of distance doesn't hurt at first. It feels clean, efficient, adult. Until one day you realize you don't remember the sound of their voice anymore. The email came on a Tuesday. No subject line, just my sister's name in the sender field. I stared at it longer than necessary, like opening it would confirm something I wasn't ready to know. I finally clicked. Open quote. Dad had a fall. He's stable. Doctors say it's not nothing. Call me when you can. Close quote. I didn't call right away. I told myself I was busy, that I needed time to think, that I'd call after the meeting. But the truth was simpler and uglier. I didn't know what I would say. That night, I lay in bed fully dressed, lights off, phone on the nightstand, ceiling staring back at me. I tried to remember the last real conversation we had. Not logistics, not birthdays, not weather, a real one. I couldn't. My father was never a loud man. He didn't give speeches, didn't hug easily, didn't explain himself. He showed love through consistency, through being there even when it was inconvenient, through staying. I learned many things from him. Staying wasn't one of them. By morning, I had already booked a flight. Not because I felt ready, but because not going felt worse than going unprepared. The airport felt like a place designed for avoidance. Everyone moving, no one settling. Perfect. On the plane, I watched the city disappear beneath the clouds. I felt nothing. That scared me more than fear would have. The house I grew up in hadn't changed. Same porch, same crooked mailbox, same tree my father never cut down because my sister once cried about it. Some places freeze time. Others wait patiently for you to notice how much you've changed. My sister opened the door. She looked older, not dramatically, just honestly. We hugged, awkwardly, like two people who shared a past but weren't sure how to share a present. He's awake, she said, stubborn as ever. I nodded. Stubbornness runs in families. The hospital room was quiet, machines breathing for him when his body forgot to, lights too bright, curtains too thin. My father looked smaller. That shouldn't have been possible. He opened his eyes when I stepped closer. Didn't smile, didn't frown, just looked at me. Long, careful, like he was checking if I was real. You came, he said, not accusing, not grateful, just factual. I did, I answered. My voice sounded unfamiliar, like it didn't belong in that room. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Sometimes silence isn't avoidance. Sometimes it's respect. Before I left, he said something quietly, almost to himself. You always were good at leaving. It wasn't cruel. That's what made it hurt. That night, I sat alone in my childhood room. The bed felt too short, the walls too close. I realized something then. I had spent years building a life that required me to be nowhere for too long. No roots, no anchors, no one waiting. And for the first time, the question wasn't, what do I want? Woke up before it was, what am I because I was rested, because my body remembered this place before my mind did. The house made sounds it never made anywhere else. Old wood, old heat, old memories shifting when you weren't looking. In the kitchen, the clock still ticked too loudly. My father used to say, if you can hear the clock, you're not busy enough. I hadn't heard a clock in years. At the hospital, he was sitting up, angrier somehow, alive in that sharp, inconvenient way. Doctor says I got lucky, he said. Don't believe in luck. I sat down. Neither of us asked how the other was doing. We already knew. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I didn't think I wouldn't, I replied. That earned a short nod. A truce, not forgiveness. He looked out the window. You left fast, he said. Didn't look back. I felt something tighten. I did look back, I said. I just didn't come back. Silence filled the space between us. Not empty, heavy. You were afraid, he said. Not as an insult, as an observation. I almost laughed. Of what? I asked. He turned toward me. Of staying long enough to be needed. That landed where defenses don't reach. I wanted to argue, explain, list reasons, schedules, opportunities, responsibilities, but explanations are just fear wearing a tie. I watched you build distance, he continued. Not walls. Distance. That's harder to cross. I looked at my hands. I hadn't noticed how steady they were until then. Too steady. I thought if I kept moving, I said slowly, I wouldn't feel stuck. He exhaled. You didn't get stuck, he said. You got untethered. In the hallway later, my sister stopped me. You okay? She asked. I nodded automatically. She didn't accept it. You don't have to be strong here, she said. He already knows who you are. That scared me more than judgment. That afternoon, I went for a walk. The town felt smaller. Not because it changed, because I had. Places I once thought I'd escape now felt like witnesses. I passed the old field where my father taught me how to throw. I remembered missing the catch and expecting anger. Instead, he'd said, try again. The ground's not judging you. I hadn't thought about that in decades. Back at the hospital, he was asleep. I sat beside him. For the first time, I noticed how much effort breathing took. I realized something then. I had been living like time was optional. It isn't. He woke slowly. You still run? He asked. I shook my head. Stopped caring about where I'm going, I said. He smiled. Just barely. That's usually when people start paying attention. That evening, we talked longer. Not about careers, not about success, about my mother, about his regrets, about how pride can disguise itself as independence. You think leaving makes you free, he said, but freedom without direction is just drift. I didn't respond. I couldn't. When I left, he stopped me. Stay a few days, he said. Not a request, not an order, an opening. I agreed before thinking. That surprised both of us. That night, I lay awake again, but this time the silence felt different. Not empty, expectant. I didn't know what I would change, or how, or when. But for the first time in years, I wasn't planning my exit. I was considering my presence. Some people leave to survive. Others leave to avoid living. Not because everything was resolved. Not because anyone asked me to. I stayed because leaving didn't feel honest anymore. The days fell into a rhythm I didn't plan. Mornings at the hospital, afternoons walking the town, evenings at the house that still smelled like old coffee and dust. No schedule, no escape route. That was new. My father got quieter, not weaker, more selective. He didn't waste words anymore. Sit, he'd say, or tell me what you're avoiding. He had always been direct. I'd just gotten better at not listening. One afternoon, I found an old box in the garage. Photos, receipts, notes written in handwriting that hadn't existed in years. I realized something uncomfortable. Now, I'd been afraid of becoming him, but I'd been repeating him instead, just with better excuses. At the hospital, he asked me something unexpected. What do you want? Not, what's your plan? Not, what are you doing next? Just, what do you want? I stared at the floor. I didn't know. That answer used to terrify me. Now it felt like truth. means you're not lying. My sister left for work the next morning. Before she went, she hugged me. Longer than necessary. You're different, she said. Not fixed, just here. I watched her drive away. The urge to follow didn't come. On my last day, my father was discharged. Slow steps, careful movement. In the parking lot, he stopped. You don't owe this place anything, he said, but you owe yourself presence. I nodded. That felt manageable. We shook hands, then awkwardly hugged. Neither of us mentioned it. I left town that afternoon, but I didn't rush. I stopped the car twice. Once just to breathe. Once because I felt something loosen. Back in the city, nothing had changed. Same noise, same pace, same pressure to move forward without thinking. But I had. I started calling more, listening longer, answering slower. I didn't overhaul my life. I adjusted how I occupied it. I learned something important. Presence isn't permanence. Staying doesn't mean never leaving. It means choosing not to disappear when things get uncomfortable. Sometimes I still feel the urge to run. That hasn't gone away. But now I recognize it, and recognition is the beginning of choice. You don't have to go back to prove you've changed. Sometimes you just stop running, and that's enough.